Glad to be here. No, it's like I said, last year I told our guys, we didn't make the NCAA tournament, qualified for the NIT and had a great experience in it. But, this year when we knew we'd be in it, just how different it felt. And we got some guys in Jaden Gardner and Armand Franklin, who transferred to Virginia, and they had never played in an NCAA tournament, and the hopes were that they'd get this chance. And that first year, we got kind of close, but played in the NIT, and it was a very good experience. But for those guys who came here, and Ben Vanderplas came here, who obviously is not playing in this tournament, it's a big deal. It's always a big deal to be in this. So we're excited and know, obviously, the competition is excellent, and just, again, grateful to be here in Orlando, and excited to get after it tomorrow against, again, a high-quality team.
Questions on the floor for Coach Bennett?
Todd Summers, WSBA TV. Coach Bennett, I was talking to Coach Richie a couple minutes ago, and he was saying that this past summer you had given him some words of encouragement after they had lost that difficult Southern Conference Championship game last year on the 35-footer at the buzzer to beat them, and you had kind of relayed the disappointment that you guys had as a 1 seed and then came back and won the national championship the following year. Can you just take me through that conversation you had with Coach Richie and your relationship with him?
Yeah, well, I have great respect for Coach Richie. I don't know him super well, but I have the ultimate respect and know what he's done there as a coach. He hired a guy that was like a video coordinator, graduate assistant for us. And, when you talk to people that you know well, that have spent time with someone else, you get the real deal, the real scoop. And he said he is a class man. He said he's a heck of a coach and a class man. So that, just the respect I have. And I don't know if Coach Richie knows, there's a guy named Roger Thompson who's a dear friend and a huge Furman, passed away, but a huge Furman supporter, and he's been great to my father and me, and he's kind of tied us to Furman and the quality of that program, from Nico and now to Coach Richie. But from that conversation, when you feel like you really want something and you're on the verge of it and then something hard happens, we just talk about, what adversity does and how it reveals a lot and it tests you, and it's humbling, but the ability to go through it with the right kind of people is of first importance. And I know, Coach has that, and I know he's that kind of man, and I had that when that happened with the young men in my staff. And I think it allows you sometimes, to find things out about yourself and help you in your journey. There's no question. And that's, I think, what has happened for them. What a terrific year they've had and how they got to this point. So much respect. And again, there might have been a few more things, but that's what I recall.
Mike?
Mike Bianchi, Orlando Sentinel coach. Obviously, transfers have sort of changed the face of college sports, basketball and football in particular. I'm just wondering, do you have an opinion? Has the portal been good or bad for college athletics, college basketball in specific?
Yeah, I think, well, I'll tell you what it does, in the NCAA tournament, it's just seeding, all that stuff. With the COVID fifth year, and that'll end in 1 or 2 more years, and then the transfers, being able to come and play right away, teams now can, in a year, flip it. And there's so many quality players and teams that have been together for longer now or are older. And so it makes it, parity even more. I think in college basketball there's so much parity. Maybe it's a little different in football, it's coming. But as far as your specific question about transfers, I think if you'd have asked most of the coaches, 99% would have said it's probably best how it was. If a student athlete, if they come and then maybe they sit a year, if they're going to transfer, to make sure. So that was the desire of most of the coaches, but that's changed, and now I think it's helped programs, it's helped some young men, but it is challenging. And I've been coaching, this is my 14th year at Virginia, in it for a while, and you have to say, okay, this is how it is now. You adjust, you get to decide how you want to build your program, but there's some valuable lessons. The question that was just asked, I guess he asked and he left, about adversity, going through adversity and what it does and how it can, train you and with the patience. And sometimes those lessons are getting lost. That's the stuff that I think can be hard. But But this is the state of college athletics, the ability to transfer and play right away. And again, there's some positives to it, and I'd be lying if I said there weren't negatives to it. It's both.
In the front.
Yeah, Kip Coons for Press Box View. Tony, you guys have largely been successful imposing your will on pace of play in the games. What do you have to do to slow down Furman because they want to play fast?
Yeah, they'll get down the floor so fast after a make, after a miss, and they're efficient. They lead the country in 2-point percentage, but they shoot a lot of threes from all 5 spots. And there aren't teams, I don't know if there's any teams in the ACC quite like them. That's what makes that always challenging and intriguing. But it's always, they have to do what they do well, and we got to try to do what we do well. And again, it's always, can you get your defense sent against teams that really like to push? So they're playing against a set D, and then you got to go to work. Some teams, if you get back and get them stopped, you're in great shape. You got to do that against them. But then with their ability to stretch you and cut and move, you got to be continuous and really good. So it's just, can you have a high level of focus and quality in that area? And then obviously there's so much more to it, but of course it has to start with transition defense. I think every coach would tell you that, but they put pressure on you. You can see that from watching the film and the success they've had and just their numbers.
In the back.
David Teal from the Richmond Times-Dispatch. Tony, you mentioned them leading the country in 2-point percentage. What is your impression of how they have accomplished that?
Good offense, good players, but good offense, good cuts, good. They have an ability, with their combination of how many threes they shoot to stretch you, but then whether it's cuts or actions, and then they're a veteran team and they got guys who can play. There's no question that shows. So the ability of their players, and again the spacing and the system that they use, really, I think, puts pressure on you. Again, not just take away the 3, run them off the line. Well, they got stuff in there too. So again, Coach Richie's done a good job with that team, and there's some continuity there for sure.
Gentleman in the middle.
I'll take one, either or. Coach, apologies to keep the Furman question train rolling, but you talk about how the transfer portal has changed the sport, and also with Furman, a veteran-laden team. What are the challenges of playing a team that has played so many basketball games together, and 2 fifth-year seniors, and Mike and Jalen?
Yeah, I think it's remarkable that, they came back, and in today's deal, it speaks highly to the culture that's established there. But you play a lot of older teams. We played in the ACC, Miami. There's so many fifth-year laden teams. We've got guys. And the transfer portal has helped us. Look, Jaden Gardner and Armand Franklin are here. And Ben Vanderplas, I wish he was here. He's here. I wish he was here playing. But so we've benefited from it. So understand that. But, I think experienced players, they've been through a lot. So that continuity, that there's no substitute for having the reps and the games and all that. It's just being as ready, and it'll be, again, who can last the longest and play the highest level of their kind of basketball for the 40 minutes that it takes.
In the back.
Beth Houle, WHNS in Greenville. I was struck when you started and talked about how much this means. And you, maybe more than anyone, have had really the ups and the downs of March Madness, and so much is made of those Cinderella stories. But how much does this mean in coming in and experiencing this and having that perspective that you've been able to garner over these years, and especially even last year, going to the NIT and now being back? Yeah.
In all things, give thanks. I mean, we get to do this. It's a privilege. I look at these guys that I played at Green Bay. Oh, man, I wanted to get to this tournament so bad. I played for my father, and I remember he went there to build the program, and I decided to go there. I said, Dad, I think maybe someday we can get to the tournament. So that experience of playing for him, getting there, winning our conference tournament, there's just such elation. And then Steve Smith hit a last-second shot to beat us against Michigan State in the first round. So understand, coming from a mid-major school, that excitement, or low major, whatever we were, whatever they called us back then, it didn't matter, because good basketball knows no divisions or no limits. That's the one thing that I was raised on. But seeing the excitement of that, going to Washington State, being part of programs, I think, I watched my father as a coach. He always had a rebuild. He went to more of the bottom of the leagues when he went to Wisconsin. Then we went to Washington State, and seeing programs turn around and get that chance to get to this stage, And then even at Virginia, that's where it started. And then again, when you've been humbled in this tournament, when you've tasted the great success that we have, I look at all as an incredible opportunity to just go through it. But it's wonderful. There's so much excitement made of it, and it is. I think it's the best sporting event going. But I love it. And again, it's a wonderful opportunity. And again, it's so the one and done mentality. That's a different deal. And so again, just grateful. And again, I never take it for granted because it's hard. And people say, well, and it's hard to get to this tournament. There's 68 teams. It's good. It's hard even to get into the NIT because there's a lot of good teams around. So when you qualify for it, it's great, and then you want to be as ready as you can because the excitement that comes when you can play well in advance, it just gets better and better, and it can almost become like a fairy tale.
Final question for Coach Bennett in the back.
Tony, you mentioned that Michigan State experience against Green Bay. What do you recall about your team's confidence level and approach to that game? And do you think Furman will bring a similar approach against you tomorrow?
Absolutely. I talked to our team about that. There's no question, when you come from a mid-major conference, again, I don't believe good basketball knows no divisions or limits, and you play a team from a major conference, that's motivation. When you're the lower seed, and it's just like there's just something about that. The crowd gets behind that. So you have to be ready for that intensity and that energy. I said that to Ben Vanderplas. They beat us in the NCAA tournament. He was at Ohio. I said, you know how it is when a so-called Power Five, and we had a good year this year. We were co-champs in the ACC. Our guys know, they got to show up and they got to battle, but there's a motivation there that the mid-major schools have that you have to understand. So that was ours. We'll go toe-to-toe. We're not backing down. And again, you have to have that. I think good teams, whether you're from a Power Five and mid-major, you respect everyone you play and you don't fear them. I mean, that's kind of the common thing, but you have to have that mindset. And the game goes to who can establish, and that's the beauty of it. The ball gets tipped, who plays, who's quality, who's going to overcome. It doesn't matter, where you're from or what. Even the experience, it's just what happens in that 40 minutes or so. But yeah, I think there is that certain motivation that you get from these opportunities. And again, it's there. I don't know the last time Furman was in the tournament, but especially the heartache they had last year not getting in, they'll be excited. And I know our guys are hungry and excited as well.
Right here in the front.
Kip Coons, again, Press Box View. Tony, you brought a team here to Orlando 6 years ago, and that was so long ago. Even Kihei wasn't on the team then. But any flashbacks or reminders or something that just familiar about coming back to a place where you played another NCAA tournament round?
I remember in the first round we played Kevin Keats' team in a hard-fought game. Now he's at NC State. And I remember Isaiah Wilkins, who's now on our staff, got sick and couldn't play. We've had some unfortunate things happen in that, and then we played them, real good game, and then Florida they just blew our doors off in the next round here. But again, not a lot has changed in this tournament. You better be ready because I can't remember our seed, but it was, great venue, great town, all that stuff, and we were excited to be here. But I remember playing Coach Keats, and we had to change and go with almost five guards and play against them. They were a little unique in terms of what we had gone against, and then played against a really good Florida team in the next game.
Final question in the back.
Tony, this doesn't really affect tomorrow's game, but have you seen from Leon and Isaac the development that you hoped when they elected to redshirt this season?
Yeah, it's always a hard decision, and I think it was wise because I think they really poured into their game. We've had a great track record when guys have redshirted and what's happened after. And again, delayed gratification. Sometimes that's an important quality, and then you need to have some patience. And when you do, and you work, and you're willing to, wait for it, it's good. And I've seen them really improve. They still have improvement to do, but I think it was significant what they did. And there's many times in practice where I've said, did we do the right thing? They could have helped us, and that's a good thing. So, but they've gotten stronger and better, and they've had to learn perspective and patience, and I think that's never a bad thing in today's times.
Thank you very much, Coach Bennett.